A while back, I was working on this crazy idea that I really didn't know what was going to happen with it. I just wanted to put it together and play with it in Unity and see what came about. It was a balancing trike robot. It didn't have any arms or anything. It just had a couple pair of legs, and then it had the segmented torso portion. Um, and I built it in Unity, and I programmed it, and I played with it, and it was supposed to be sort of like just like this minimal, tiny robot that would kind of do just about everything that I've been wanting to do with a humanoid robot, but it was going to be mostly small and just maybe some sort of VR prop or something like that. And I got it in there and I got it working the way I thought it should be working. And then I tried to build a couple pieces and I just found out that there was just I wanted it to be really small and tight and minimalistic. And I found that if I tried to slam in some motors and some wheels for um, the the balancing stuff, it just made the whole thing kind of too big and bulky. And so I kind of thought about that for a while. I chewed on it and I realized that I think what I really wanted to do is uh, I wanted to build a robot that instead of building a robot that balanced on its was in fact a balancing robot, I wanted to make it so that it would actually ride around on one of those balancing scooters, those little hoverboards that people use. Um, so that kind of set me on this pathway where like, well, geez, that does that make sense? Does it is it practical to try to actually build a robot that's a little bit smaller and a little bit cheaper and a little bit lighter and instead of giving it all of the functionality that you expect it to have, what if you made it so that it actually drove around in another robot, like sort of a smart robot driving around in a dumb robot? I'm sort of like experimenting with this idea of taking a full robot and breaking it into many smaller robots, and then each robot has a shell interface that I can send MQTT messages to, and it gives I sort of build the robots to be able to collaborate with each other. I can put one. I didn't really want to use a master-slave relationship because I wasn't really sure if there would be times when I wanted one robot to be in charge of one action, but then maybe they would change roles during another action. So I didn't really commit to a master-slave relationship. I just said, okay, you guys are collaborators and you can send each other messages and you just build out the shell commands so that I can get one robot to make requests to another robot in any way, fashion it wants. This is especially useful since some portions of my robot aren't even real, right? Like some of my augmented reality robot components are like it's got a virtual head and it's got virtual hands. It doesn't, and it so it won't even have a real face. So I'm going to interface between real parts and virtual parts. The MQTT messaging definitely is appropriate for that. Um, and that as I've done this and I've been basically moving motors and batteries off of my primary robot, and I put them into some sort of motorized vehicle like this robotic wheelchair. I it's given me all sorts of advantages. It's easier to program. The robot, the my primary robot, the torso is it's lighter, it's more agile, it's cheaper to build, it's easier to program. It's going to use less motors, so it's going to be cheap. It's just it's there's a lot of advantages to that, and I don't necessarily need to commit to any sort of mobility. Like right now, I've in here in Unity, I've sort of explored. Excuse me. I've sort of explored different types of vehicle robots. Here was just my favorite one. You can do Omni robot vehicle. You can do a Mechanim robot vehicle. You can do you have a differential drive on this wheelchair here, and that's pretty straightforward to program. But one of my favorite ones, and I think one of the things I think is going to be the most beneficial, is going to be the robot riding another legged robot. Let's take a look at how some of the things work on that. Okay, so I wanted to explain a little bit about how my uh, torso robot rides a quadruped robot. There's a couple little features here that make the whole thing come together. Um, so the red robot here is a torso robot with only half-length legs, and the blue robot is just a traditional quadruped like a cheetah mini or a spot style robot. One of the things that I wanted is I wanted the bottom of the robot to pivot on a single pivot. So, but it's got two legs, and so what I did is I created a free pivoting saddle. Um, if I take away, you can see that the legs of the red torso robot are sort of like straddled around this apparatus in the center here. If I take away the trike robot, um, this piece right here is, I'm gonna show you this right here. You've got this post coming up, and that shaft is in the y-axis, and here is the y-axis carriage. And if I go and put this in pose mode and give that a turn, that would turn like this. And these aren't motorized; these are free turning. Um, and on the you can see that there is sort of a diameter here. There's an axis that goes in the z-axis. And if I bring this in, this is the z-axis carriage. And I can show you how that turns too. That turns like that. So that robot is riding, while the red robot is riding the blue robot, this pivot will free turn freely, allowing single point pivoting to happen. And one of the things that is necessary for this to work is these stirrups right here will firmly the bottom of the legs of the red robot will will sort of securely fix into that, and they'll pivot in the x-axis, and it'll give me a three-axis pivot, free pivoting point, but it'll be securely fastened so it doesn't fall off or doesn't slip off. um, a couple other things to notice here is that the red robot doesn't balance. Can't balance itself, can't hold itself because it's got really short legs. It's kind of a top heavy. So it actually holds on to these handlebars here, these black handlebars during riding of the robot. Um, these ro these black handlebars, they're securely fixed to the blue robot. They don't move at all. They move with the robot. What's really cool about the this is that when the blue robot does any sort of pose control or position control, it moves back and forth or it turns its body, those handlebars will turn with it, and it's sort of plays an important role in whatever performance I get out of the red robot, because the red robot will sort of ride this thing the same way someone might ride a mechanical bull, and it'll give some sort of entertaining performance with that in mind. So this is sort of like a cross between somebody riding a mechanical bull and a centaur, because there isn't really any sort of straightforward rules about the location of this red robot, meaning it's right now it's positioned towards in the center from front to back, but I also can put it towards the back of the robot like this. I can take these guys. Oops, that's not what I want to do. I can take these guys and I can move them like that. I can position these sort of like towards the back or even outside of the legs. Um, and this is the front of the robot, and this is actually the back of the robot. If I wanted to do it like this, I can do it like this, so that it looks more centaurish, like it's riding the robot. Um, if I've also been able to get this to work. This is probably the most centaurish that it is, but if I push these guys like this, right about there, and I move these handles back just a little bit, then I can actually put the stirrups, put the feet in the stirrups like this, and this is how the robot would be positioned if in the event that let me make sure I'm going to show you how these arms can be. These are just would go back, and the robot would be able to steady itself like this, and it would ride the robot like so. The red robot would sort of just hold it, would steady itself on the blue robot like so with its arms behind its back. And it would be able to do any sort of pose control that you have in mind for any sort of like entertaining performance. And it can continuously ride the robot like that. And of course, that's one of the one of the options of setting this thing up. So I put this into Unity and I've been programming it and I feel like it's sort of a huge success. Like I can't wait to actually build these robots in real life. The you know I've got I have the torso robot sitting on its feet are locked into a free pivoting three axis. It's three axis XYZ axis, but it's sort of a it's almost like it's a ball joint basically, but it's I can lock one of the axes if I need to. But it pivots freely on the X, Y, and Z axis, but it's a single point of pivot down by the feet, and that sort of acts as like this it's a saddle that the red robot sits on the blue robot, and it allows the red robot's foot position and rotation to pivot independently from the rotation of the blue robot, and that'll be important as I think that that allows me to do lots of different types of performance actions that I'm looking forward to doing. Um, you you big sort of I've been sort of experimenting with creating different motions through pose control, and I'm using two 6 depth of field pose controllers, two real sense cameras where or VR. You can use VR input controllers, and I'm just using those to um, pose these robots in different ways and seeing if basically they're puppets, right? And I just do different actions and see if I can come up with some sort of like characterization in this example, you can actually see that I'm facing and it's sort of got the arms behind the back so that I can be facing forward or facing backwards. I got that working pretty well. I had to play with the IK solver a little bit. And then it's just been working really well. I've been able to get program quite a few different actions. And I just wanted to show you guys a few examples of what those are looking like. And my favorite one is this one here. I think that's working really well. You're not committed to uh, particular size. I think that a legged vehicle has definitely got a lot more versatility when it comes to this sort of robot, and as opposed to like a wheelchair or a mechanism chair or even an Omni chair. The legged vehicle definitely gives it a lot more versatility. And it's going to be a little bit more expensive to build, but I'm not married to a particular size. It could be a small quadruped robot, like something small like the Spot or the Cheetah Mini, which is I think pretty small. I think it's only got like so maybe it's 18 or 20 inches tall. But you could even do something that's a lot taller than that. Like the example I showed you in Blender was I think that can't remember exactly. I think it had like it was 30 inches tall. It might have been a little bit more taller than that, 32 inches tall. So you can have a pretty big quadruped robot that you're riding, and you would actually be able to do just about anything you wanted with it. I think you're getting one of the advantages is you don't have to rely on, I feel like realistic humanoid robots are probably quite a ways away. I know they're doing really cool stuff with AI right now, and but to get it to not walk ridiculously, I think is still going to be still a ways away. And by using a quadruped robot as your base for a humanoid, it will let you do some of the things that you've been waiting for in science fiction humanoid robots, and you don't have to have the black magic. PhD in mathematics to program a robot like that. Quadrupeds are fairly approachable. The pose control on this quadruped is really easy. Um, I haven't gotten to dynamics yet. Hopefully, after a few more Khan Academy robots, I'll be able to do that. But I feel like this is a great jumping off point for when it comes to full. What do you want to think? You want to think of it as a comprehensive humanoid robot that can give you a complete entertainment experience. There it is, a trike riding a quadruped.